Good morning and welcome to this short instructional video about the topic of mid-tempo double bass. The two main points I want to get across today are the following. Number one, everyone can learn how to play double bass at mid-tempos. And when I talk about mid-tempos, I'm talking about tempos from 130 BPM to 170 BPM, that often frustrating tempo. And the second point I want to get across is that simplicity is beauty. You just have to focus on two muscle groups, your hip flexors and your calf muscles, to get those tempos down. You don't need any extra fancy techniques whatsoever. Just train those two muscle groups and you'll be fine. Remember, if you want my feedback on your double bass drumming, just join the Drum Technique Academy at drumtechniqueacademy.net. I myself and our teachers are going to give you feedback on your progress there. Alright, so now let's focus on those two topics, mid-tempo double bass. My story is the following. When I started out practicing double bass, to be honest, I was able to play faster than 190 BPM, even before I was able to control those crazy mid-tempos at 140 and 150. What I mean is I was able to play like this, or with both feet. I was able to play like that way before I was able to play at 140, 150 like that. And some of you out there might relate to this. When I started practicing mid-tempo double bass, actually one of the following three things happened all the time. Number one is I was losing my balance as soon as I started to play at mid-tempo. So I was leaning forward. I tried to play, started with one foot at a time, tried to play eighth notes. I started to lean forward and backward. That was the first big issue I had. The second big problem I faced is that as soon as I started to play double bass, I started to lean forward or backward, and I was losing my balance completely. So I wasn't even able to start with my left foot because I was falling off already. And the third big problem, once I got my kick drum going like that, was that I unconsciously speeded up and my ankles took over and I couldn't control it at mid-tempo. So I'm talking about 16th notes at mid-tempos between 130 and 170 BPM. Now let's talk about how I got rid of those problems. Basically what I did is I focused on two techniques. Number one, the flat foot technique, full leg motion coming from the hip flexor. And number two, the ankle technique, a constant contraction and relaxation from my calf muscles. With the flat foot technique, I worked my way up the BPM ladder, so I started really slow. I'm talking about eighth notes with one foot at a time, eighth notes at 60 BPM, working my way up the BPM ladder. And with the ankle technique, I worked my way down the BPM ladder. With the ankle technique, it's way easier to play at faster tempos, let's say 180 or 190. And I took my time to work down the BPM ladder and slow that one down. So again, ankle technique, I'm slowing down. Flat foot technique, I started really slow and worked my way up the BPM ladder like that. My main goal here was the following. I wanted to, on one hand, increase the tempo of the flat foot technique, so work my way up the BPM ladder to 140 or 150. And with the ankle technique, I wanted to work down the BPM ladder, again to 140 or 150. So I have like this 10 BPM zone where I'm able to play with the flat foot technique and with the ankle technique. So now if you want to start working on that stuff, there are two important things. Number one, let's focus on the flat foot technique. If you start working with the flat foot technique, try to just generate each stroke by a contraction and relaxation from your hip flexors, like that. You don't want your calf muscles to be involved in that motion. It's just coming from your hip flexors, just like that. I'm using a static contraction from my shin muscle to keep my foot in place. So I want a 90-degree angle between my lower leg and my foot. The rest just comes from my hip flexors, just like that. Then you transfer that to your pedal. That's it. When it comes to the ankle technique, all you want to do is you want a static contraction and relaxation from your calf muscles. So you want the beta to bounce back and forth. Just like that. That's it. Work on that one first and then work your way down the BPM ladder. One problem that many drummers are facing when they're starting out with the ankle technique is that their beta is stuck to the bass drum head just like that. They can't like get a big beta swing. What I can recommend you to do is the following. Lift the weight of your full leg by a static contraction from your hip flexors, just like that, and then start that bouncing motion. Then you'll be fine. The end result should look like this. What you hear right now is the click at 140 BPM, and you want to be able to play at that tempo when using the flat foot technique and the ankle technique. So I want you to be able to switch back and forth between those two techniques without any problems. So 140, eighth notes with the flat foot technique. Once you can control the flat foot technique at 140, work on the ankle technique at 140. And once you got that down, you want to be able to switch between those two. So you want to switch between the ankle technique and the flat foot technique. So again, 140, I'm going to start with the ankle technique and then switch to the flat foot technique. So that's just the ankle technique. Flat foot technique. One cool exercise that I use till this day, where I switch constantly between the flat foot technique and the ankle technique, is that I set the metronome at 140 or 150, and I'm switching note rates between eighth notes and eighth note triplets. For the eighth notes, I'm using just the flat foot technique, and for the eighth note triplets, I'm using the ankle technique. Again, if you got any problems at mid-tempo double bass and you want me personally to review your double bass playing, just join the Drum Technique Academy. It's $25 per month and you can upload your own videos in our closed Facebook group, and I myself and our drum teachers at the Academy are gonna give you feedback. This way you're gonna progress even faster. To conclude this short instructional video, I want to talk about something that's called Occam's Razor. That's OCCAM, Occam's Razor. If you got a simple solution to a problem like mid-tempo double bass, just need to work on your hip flexor and your calf muscle, only two muscle groups, there's no need to add any other entities. So you don't want to overcomplicate that stuff. It's just mid-tempo double bass, you just need to work on those two muscle groups and those two techniques and you will be good. So don't overthink and start practicing at mid-tempos with the swivel technique, where you have to adapt. Basically, you have to adapt a technique to a certain tempo, and a technique that's like perfect for fast stuff, but you're not gonna need it at 140 BPM. Again, Occam's Razor. If you got a simple solution for a problem, there's no need to add any other entities. Alright, and that's pretty much it for today's tutorial video. Again, if you want me to coach you personally, and if you want all of my tutorial videos basically about the topics of mid-tempo double bass, up-tempo double bass, and so on, don't forget to check out the Drum Technique Academy. That's drumtechniqueacademy.net. I'm teaching there along with other teachers like Eugene Ryabchenko, Kerim Krim-Lechner, Dan Presland, Cam Pedeni, David Diepold, Kevin Paradis, and so on. So make sure to check out that one as well. Comment below if you want me to cover a certain topic in the next tutorial video. That's it for today. Have a great day. Cheers from Vienna. Bye bye.